right.
All right, guys. I don't know what time it is because my phone is taken at the moment. But I'd ask Kristen. Great.
Kristen's fine.
Trust me, I'm not 2 beers in. This is my first. I was asking Kristen to come in and have a conversation. She had been talking recently. What did you call it? What were the gender-related stuff you were doing? The
Dressember?
Dressember, okay.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about that?
So Dressember takes place during December. It's a Dressember Foundation. Every year they try to raise funds to help women that have been trafficked,
Okay.
Whether that's actually providing funds for rescue operations or if that's providing support after they're rescued, that kind of thing. So those funds, they raise money all through the month of December, and there are advocates, which I was an advocate, but we wear dresses every day for the month of December to do that and to raise awareness. So part of it's raising awareness, part of it's raising funds, but all of it is to help women in trafficking and
then
sexual trafficking, labor trafficking.
What do the funds go for? What is
So it can be anything. So it can be from actually providing the funds to do a rescue.
Yeah.
Some of it's counseling afterwards, food, housing. I mean, all of the necessities for women after being pulled from these situations.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so that went, like I said, that went all through December, and then they're continuing to raise funds through January for National Human Trafficking Awareness Month.
Yeah. So, and it only goes for January.
Well, December is only for December, and then
December. Okay.
they continue raising funds through January for National Human Trafficking Awareness Month.
How did you find out about it? Because I had never heard of it before.
Okay, so several of the women that I'm friends with have been doing it. I think they've been doing it 4+ years. And I think my team was about 20 women, but it was Team Dress Well Do Good. And that was several women in Austin, but also across the United States. I think one woman actually, and she's in Europe. But we all, support each other, encourage each other.
Yeah.
We had a Facebook group and share different ideas and all of our pictures and posts. And yeah, so anyways, that was how I got connected with that team specifically, is through friends.
Okay. And then how much did you, if you don't mind me asking, like how much did you wind up raising?
So our team specifically raised over $22,000.
Yeah.
And then overall, the cap I think they were trying to reach this year was $2 million, and they are pretty close to it overall for the Dressember organization.
Yeah.
So they were really, really close.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, human trafficking and gender issues. You were one of the only other local therapists I had seen who was posting anything related to it. I deal with it in a very different way, running like Thai Massage Jam and whatever, having a home studio. You and I were having conversations off camera about the evil that you represent as a small business owner.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you're worth millions and you're
Yes.
a crushing capitalist, keeping these people like you're like a puppeteer, making them.
It's true. And legally, as an entity, I'm recognized as a corporation. So
Yes. You as well. Me
Evil
too.
corporations. Yes. That's me.
Yeah. The conversations I have primarily go around the massage entrepreneurs group, and I've developed a bit of a reputation because there's some. I don't want to call it soft, but it's just like people, almost having like conversations revolving around, socialism and universal basic income, stuff like that. Which, granted, technology and our social structure, gender issues, economy affect the massage industry, but it's one of the few areas that, sole proprietors and then small business owners can kind of rise up. We've only hit like the age of massage envy in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So the thing is, there wasn't even like a big corporate giant before massage envy. Now there's this big corporate giant in a way as people think of it.
Yeah.
But massage therapists on the whole, they constantly, on massage entrepreneurs, they're constantly complaining about the owner, which is this lady, this evil beer drinking,
That's me.
doing Dressember,
Right.
raising money for human trafficking, and then the other side of the spectrum is all of the crap that went down at Massage Envy, which was it 180 cases in the U.S.
180 plus, yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, what was more shocking to me wasn't the allegations. It was the fact that it looked like, from the news I was reading, that Massage Envy was trying to squash it. They were trying to keep it quiet. Yeah.
And keeping therapists on staff after they had been accused of doing things. So they were either not performing background checks or reference checks, or in some cases even checking to make sure that they have licenses.
Yeah.
And so that's another part of it, is that even the prereqs of hiring weren't being done. So then after that, after the accusations coming in and them still not doing something and keeping them on staff, sometimes after being accused multiple times, like where does the craziness stop? Like what is enough to get someone out after being accused of something like that?
Money.
Exactly.
When it hurts their finances.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that's really, that's a tough pill to swallow. Like you said, when we're compared to big companies or corporate giants, it's like, no, small business owners completely run their businesses differently.
Yeah.
And if you're doing it right, you're people focused. And that's, whether that's, encouraging your employees to one day go out and run their own businesses, or to just have stable income and, and be able to promise, quality work, quality clients, a quality employer experience. Yeah. There's so many things that employers can provide, but yeah, when we're being, compared to, evil corporations, that just blows my mind. It's like we're so people focused.
When it comes to massage therapists, and this will kind of get off of the topic of gender politics, but what I always did was, as a massage therapist working in facilities, is 9 times out of 10 is I would just do my best work. But after I had done my best work working on the clients, the thing that I'm paid for, I would usually stop by your office just very quickly and say, "Hey, Kristen, do you need anything?
Yeah.
Is there anything I can do before I leave?"
Yeah.
And you go, "Listen, the janitor guys aren't coming tonight. It would be really great if you just take out the trash." And I'd go, "Sure," and I'd go do that. And here's the thing: when it came time to get a raise,
right?
the thing is, it's because I cared just 1% about the overall well-being of the business,
right,
which is what people don't understand when it's all on your shoulders.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
all the business decisions.
Yeah, and all the things, like we were talking off camera earlier about, I was chiseling layers of tint off a window. It was not my finest moment, but it's something that had to be done, and it needed to happen after office hours. And how many window companies can you get to come out after 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
So I chiseled window tint by myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does all fall on the business owner's shoulders. And yeah, when people start stepping up and taking initiative and realizing how much those business owners do and offering to help, it's like it makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I always looked at, when I worked for small businesses, and I worked for several over the years, I had a very distinct impression that the success of the overall business, lessening the stress of the boss, meant that it was easier for me to excel, because that was my chosen job at that time.
Yeah.
I hadn't chosen at that point to work for myself because I just didn't have the knack. I didn't understand business well enough. It took years of working inside the industry for multiple facilities to get an idea, because I started when I was 25. So I hadn't really done much work other than like a university job while I was at the university.
Yeah.
So it took years of honing the art inside other people's businesses to say, okay, I think I understand enough of it to be able to work for myself. And that's going fairly well.
Right.
But my choice was to have a home studio, which is a very different business structure. And I still have people regularly tell me that they would like me to have a brick and mortar because I'll make more money.
Yeah.
And I'll say, okay, so I have to make an extra $1,000 a month,
right,
so I can have a brick and mortar, which what impresses the public. I don't know what goes into that. But the thing is, the stress I wanted to avoid was having the overhead, and the stress I wanted to avoid was having to manage the massage therapists who don't knock on your door and they're just like, "Where's my money?"
Right.
Like they're looking at you going, "You took a vacation. I don't get to take a vacation."
Right. Well, and one thing that you may not have thought about from the perspective of your gender specifically, and I'm not saying that it's not an issue for men as well. It definitely is in the industry. But for part of the reason for me for always choosing to either update my space or upgrade my space. We've moved 7 times in 7 years.
Yeah.
Now we're in a 7-year lease, so we're in one place for a while. But part of that for me was not to impress the public, but to give more of a sense of security to my staff and myself, but also to show our clients that we were professional. Because one thing that we do face, constantly as a profession and females in the industry specifically is the idea that because we provide massage, we also provide a sexual service.
Yeah.
So it was constantly, well, I have to have a really professional website. I have to have professional photography. I have to have a bigger space. I have to have a lobby, and then it's like before, I had this small office and then I had another office with a bigger lobby. And now this one, well, I have to have a retail section because retail really shows you're professional. It shows that, you definitely don't give happy endings. Like, it's just crazy that that's the thought that goes into me signing a lease over for the 7 years of my life.
Yeah.
So I would gladly have a home studio, but what would happen?
See, the thing is, it's that thing where it gets to the point of male privilege. And I'm actively trying to look at those things to try to understand it. We have lots of conversations with my wife and with my roommate about it.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can't get out of my own mindset because I don't have to deal with those things in the same way. And I've always worked in facilities where, because the gender issues in our industry are interesting to me because men are the minority. I only make up like maybe 15% of like massage therapists. But in every facility I ever worked, it was always like trading work with the other therapists so they understood who I was. You'd be able to refer clients to me that had like specific pain conditions I could help. I became the fix-it guy wherever I worked. And it was also developing enough of a rapport of like trust to be able to interact with my female, colleagues in a professional manner.
Yeah.
And the thing is, when I worked in facilities years ago in Baton Rouge, this is, over 11 years ago, I would get referrals or even jobs at times because other female therapists respected me so much. They would vouch for me and say, no, you have to hire this guy.
Right.
Well, we don't know if we want to hire a guy. It's kind of weird. And they're like, no, you have to hire this guy. He's perfect. We don't have any male staff at all, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's like the gender politics to me gets old. But when it comes to a home studio, I remember there was a young lady on the entrepreneurs group. I think she was several hours south of San Francisco. And she was adamant she could never have a home studio. Yeah. Never. And I was like, how much do you pay in, rent or whatever your facility costs are? And she gave some number, and I said, so, okay, if you had a home studio, you'd have an $18,000 a year advertising budget. And the thing is, it's not saying right or wrong because I know everybody can't do it. Yeah. And I understand it for safety reasons as well. But then it gets so far as to talking about like soothe and zeal. If you do out-call work, how do you guarantee somebody's security? Right, and you can't. And the thing is that they have, I guess they have a way of contacting the therapist afterwards to make sure they're safe when they get there, when they leave, that kind of thing. But really, you don't know. When you're a national brand, and you're sending people out into people's homes, there's no way to guarantee someone's safety. I know they've had some incidents. Incidents is probably not a strong enough word for actually what happened. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that a girl was killed in one of the clients' homes. And how do you prevent that? Yeah. And obviously, anytime anybody walks into your business, or when you're giving a massage or receiving a massage, you're in a vulnerable place. You're putting yourself into a room with an individual, and there's always some level of vulnerability. Going into someone's home is a totally different level. Yeah. Zeal and soothe in businesses like that. I know there's a couple out there now, or even a few more. There's one guy. What's the name of it? It's awful. What is the name? RubZ. Oh, it's awful. Yes, I am very familiar with RubZ.
Oh God. That name alone. It's like, really, you're going to send therapists into people's home? Hi, I'm here from RubZ.
Do you know what percentages? Chris Rasko, I actually talked to him on the phone. The guy who was starting it. Mm-hmm. Do you know what percentage he was offering the therapist? What? 90%.
What? Because he had to. He had to do something.
The thing is, I was like, every time I talked to him, and this is the conversation we had on Massage Entrepreneurs, it was brutal. I got no love. I had the moderators come to me in private and go, dude, you're pissing everybody off. Why are you supporting RubZ? And I was like, it's 90%.
It's 90%.
90%, he'll change the name.
Yeah.
He can change the name.
That's true.
Like 90%, because they think I'm supporting this one specific business. And it's not what I was supporting. What I was supporting is the idea that the technology exists to have an app like that allows the consumer more control and allows the therapist more control.
Yeah.
And it's like he's taking such a low percentage. If he could pull it off at 90%, forget the name.
Right.
Whatever the app does. Think of it as like open source.
Right.
If he can do that at 90%, it would crush facilities like Massage Envy.
Absolutely. Yeah. But then you've got therapists that it's like, are you willing to work for the company called RubZ for the 90%? I personally wouldn't. But that's only because of my personal experience. But not everybody has had issues in the past with somebody.
Well, the other thing was, from my vantage point, previously I couldn't do any work for Sue the Zeal because they didn't have Thai massage as an option.
Oh yeah.
And the sessions I do now are typically 3 hours, which there was no option, so I couldn't even work for those facilities.
Yeah.
RubZ would allow me control to have like a 3-hour option and dictate the terms of what service I was giving. And that's where it was like there was some variation. And the thing is, it was more like looking at the industry as a whole and how do you introduce software technology that's more like Uber.
Right. Yeah, where you do really get to be an independent contractor and dictate more of what you do and just be called out to service, but still dictated as your own business.
Which is really what I'm in support of. It wasn't so much RubZ, but the thing is, everybody lost their minds. It was just like, God.
Yeah. When you said it, I was like, what? Excuse me? Oh, yeah. But it does make sense. Like you said, be all for the 90%. That's fantastic. But yeah, it just depends. Everybody is different, and everybody's previous experience and history with whatever they've done and with whatever companies they've done work for before, that's what they bring with them into, whether or not they choose to work with a company like that. But it could be a really great thing for a lot of people.
So with gender issues in our industry, and this is what I'm most interested in, I think because you have interest in it, you're one of the only other local therapists of like recognition that I thought I could have this conversation with.
Well, thanks. I didn't know I was recognized.
Yeah, you're famous.
Thanks.
You're famous in Austin. I mean, what do we do? And I am actually asking this question. Like, what do we do about gender issues in the massage industry? And how's that going to change in the next 10 to 20 years?
Wow. Well, that's a lot. There's a lot of things. I mean, that's one thing that, starting with just, for example, hiring men. I personally, one of my first employees was a male therapist, and really struggled for a while to get him to get booked. I think honestly part of it too is demographics. I mean, Northwest Austin is just different. Male therapists in Central Austin, South Austin tend to do better with booking. People have less preference as far as, whether they book with a male or female therapist. So already placing myself in Northwest Austin, already difficult, and just based on proximity, but then also hiring a male therapist and having all other female staff. A lot of times it was like, well, if you have a female therapist, let's just go ahead and book with her. And then now we have consistently had a male therapist for a while, but unprecedented move. I just hired another male therapist, so I'm actually gonna have 2. And we finally got to this point where the male therapist that we have on staff now, he is doing really well. But I mean, I can't tell you how many times he and I have had this conversation about how hard it can be to convince some people to book with him just because he's a guy. And male clients, they're like, well, I don't know. And I said, trust me, he knows what he's doing. Like,
and the female vouches, and that's exactly how I won.
Yes, let him trust me. Yeah, if I had been a male business owner, like, would it be different? Like, if it was you in my office and you were saying, no, you need to book with him, like, how would it be? But if the woman feels safe, does the man feel safe? I don't know. But I mean, it's worked countless times. And then every single time they walk out and they're like, you know what, you're right. Because for me, the reference, or not the reference, but like the suggestion I give with someone to book isn't based on the gender. It's based on the therapist. It has nothing to do with gender.
People ask me, they're like, do you prefer a male or a female?
It doesn't matter. It's
a
skill.
I particularly like being nurtured by women specifically, but at the same time, my first question is like, is the body work good?
Right.
Because if the body work is good, I don't care.
Right.
Like, it's about the body work first. But I think my entire mentality towards it was different. I've worked with a lot of male students over the years, from teaching CE classes, going into schools, and I can always tell there's a guy who's 22 years old. He only wants to work on women. He's still in school. He has no idea about business.
Right.
And I'm like, I think they go into school because they think it's just going to be easy money.
Right.
And it gives a sort of license to touch cute girls in his head.
Yep.
And I went into it for chronic pain.
Right.
But my own chronic pain. And the thing is, I became very good at working on chronic pain because I'd worked through my own, and then I had more of a resonance when you said, hey, you had like whiplash, right? It's easier for me because I had whiplash to like emotionally resonate with the potential client to say, listen, I was in a car accident by a drunk driver. I know what it's like to have neck pain and you can't, move your head around easily. And that seemed to get me over the hurdle, but it also changed my perspective about what massage and body work was. Which I didn't grow up in a spa culture.
Yeah.
Spa stuff seems weird to me because I always looked at what I was searching for was a more like a medical service.
Yeah. And that's similar to what I grew up in. So I'm from Corpus Christi. And so I think the first time I had a massage, I was 13, and I saved up my allowance to have a massage from the male massage therapist at an athletic club where I played tennis. Yeah. And so that was my first interaction. Massage was not common, but it was because I had had some issues playing tennis. That was what my entry into it was. I always thought spas were very luxurious, and it was a thing that rich people did. But, the thing, is that places don't have to be, you can still get a therapeutic massage in a spa, basically. It just depends on the therapist, again, the skill level, techniques and style. But, that was my entry into it, was that I had it from a sports perspective, and spa was a completely foreign concept to me.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, it was not a common thing where I'm from. It's still not really. I think they got their own massage envy a couple years ago.
The thing is, I have a very different business having a home studio. How do you think the public sees it in Austin? Like, what do you see on a daily basis?
Oh.
Is it spa?
Is
it pain relief?
No, pain relief primarily. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Our facility, at least, like, I always wanted to have a place that didn't feel clinical. It could be a little prettier and a little more spa-like, but we give you a hell of a massage. You're going to get a therapeutic massage. For me personally, I specialize in frozen shoulder, and I do a lot of rehabilitative work, like post-mastectomy and post-plastic surgery. Yeah. So a lot of it's like deep scar tissue. I'm also burn scar massage certified. Yeah. So that's more for me what I like to do. So a relaxation massage for me is just like, gonna fall asleep. I
can do it, but it's just not what I gravitated towards.
I can do it. It's the first thing I trained in, but yeah, it's not what I gravitate towards at all. It's totally different.
So, see, for me, one of the things that I find interesting is when I went through the rebrand, like I'm calling what I do a reboot. It's 21st century manual therapy. And the thing is, when I hear massage therapists doing work where essentially the conversation we're having is about, gender issues in our industry and like human trafficking.
Right.
Why do personal trainers not have to talk about human trafficking? Why do physical therapists, chiropractors not have to talk about human trafficking? Why does it fall to our industry to be like to butt up against that specifically?
Because it, no pun intended, it touches us more. That's one thing at every single location we've had in 7 years has been either sharing an office park with or relatively close. Maybe a parking lot or maybe a block away with a business that is known for allegedly providing sexual massage services, or they're known to be human trafficking hubs.
And Austin is the capital city. Our state board, so to speak, is here in Austin, and it's still a problem in Austin.
Yeah, well, the thing with that is, the thing with that is that there are only so many investigators. And a couple years ago, the problem with that was that the state of Texas only had 2 investigators, and I think this is maybe 3-4 years ago, for the entire state. So in the second largest state in the U.S., we had 2 investigators that go out and check out every case that is that comes on hits their desk. And so that's unreal. And they don't just investigate massage industry. They had several several licensed entities that they had to look into. So in the last couple of years, they actually had several more. And one of my clients is actually an investigator for the state now. And so it's interesting to pick his brain on it. But, there are cases that are backlogged like 6, 7, 8 years. And they basically answer those not allegations, I guess, those cases like in the order in which they're received, unless it's kind of, prioritized by severity. Yeah. So the way that the state handles these things is that they kind of lean on the police to go in and police the situation if it's warranted. If something has actually happened that's illegal and not like a licensure issue, like if they don't have a license displayed or they don't have an establishment license, which those things are illegal. But generally, the state agency will actually step in before the police on those things. Yeah. But if something happens like an assault or things like that, the police address that, and the license board actually does as well. So that's the thing. Even in the capital, it doesn't matter because they're here in our city, but they're having to travel across the entire state to investigate all these different organizations. So it's like, well, the police are relying. The police also have limited resources to deal with this too. Yeah. So it's kind of like, raising awareness is the most important thing because the police and the state can only do so much. But really informing people and teaching them about like what happens in these businesses and them making complaints about what they see or what they hear is going on, that's really the way that's going to get them shut down. I mean, that's really how we kind of break the cycle, I guess. Yeah.
when you get to regulation, I'm in a tough spot because I've got people who, because of having grown out of Thai massage and teaching Thai massage classes to get students started, somebody will come in and take a class with me for 3 days and then go out and start charging for massage. They don't have a license.
Yeah. Yep.
And the massage therapists are like, well, you're teaching them. And I'm like, yeah. Because if I don't, somebody else will.
Right.
And at least if I'm training them, I'm trying to give them some information so they're not hurting people.
Yep.
And the thing is, it's like the therapist will get angry because they're like, well, this person doesn't have a license. And I'm like, okay, so what do you want me to do about it?
Right.
Like I've literally had massage therapists in Austin contact me, say, hey, so-and-so is practicing without a license. And I go, okay, report them.
Right.
Because it's not illegal for me to teach hobbyists or whatever.
That's true.
And the thing is, they're like, but the state's not going to do anything. And I'm like, so why are you calling me?
Yeah. Yeah, like, why don't you do it? And that's a weird thing, too, is that I don't understand why some people like are scared to do that.
To report people?
Yeah, to report people.
Blow back, they're afraid of...
Yeah, because, they're technically, the words that we are and aren't allowed to use, if you say massage therapy, you can say body work, you can say reflexology, you can say this, you can say that.
Is it legal in Texas to say you do body work without a license?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I don't know.
I'm 99.9% sure. I have to fact check, but I'm almost positive. But massage or massage therapy, you can't. And you're supposed to have, your license number on all of your advertisement and this, that, and the other. And, I don't understand why some people, they're fearful of it because, okay, so let's just say you had business cards and you forgot to put your license number. I'm obviously not going to turn you in for that. You're a licensed therapist. It's one thing. But if you go to a business like, I was driving down 183 yesterday, and actually one of my clients had mentioned it. There's a car parking facing 183 and scrawled on it. I mean, it looks like it was painted with a stick. It said massage, $40. It was shoved up on a piece of cardboard in the window of the car. And one of our clients ended up there, and I thought, why did you go there? And he said, well, I saw a massage, $40. I said, I would never enter that building. Like, I don't know why. He was allured. But then he walked right out because when he got in there, he said he knew that something was wrong. He felt like he was really uncomfortable. And he said that it gave him the creeps. And I said, the sign was not your first indicator that it might give you the creeps. But so anyways, I don't understand why people are afraid to turn them in. If you see a place like that, check it out. If they don't have an establishment license, if they don't have license numbers for the therapists, turn them in.
The public, I think, doesn't really know what the laws are. They're not in our industry.
Sure.
So then it's like we have these conversations on like massage entrepreneurs or other massage groups, and they want the massage therapist to police the industry. And I'm like, I'm busy.
Sure.
I'm not like...
But if you really have a problem with it, go do something about it.
Like, yeah, but the thing is, I don't have a problem with it.
Yeah, but no, I mean the therapists that are complaining about it.
Yeah, it's like... Well, it also gets to a point where the therapists themselves are talking about competition.
Sure.
Like the Asian foot spas, and I hear this crap constantly, and it's like, listen, I don't feel like I'm competing with those folks.
Yeah.
You know, I'm doing something that's different. It's like, it's a lot of work.
Sure.
You know, it's like, yeah, I've got my phone set up, I've got a camera set up, I've got lights.